In this video, we're going to cover how to do our first assignment on AutoCAD. You should have already reviewed the 2 previous videos that would take you through the interface of what our CAD screen looks like. My CAD, when I started, automatically starts with drawing 1 up here. But I don't want to start with drawing 1 from here because I don't know what the units are that we are starting with. So I'm going to exit out of that. You also want to avoid hitting that little plus sign at the top because, again, you can't control what kind of drawing you're going to start with. Now, on my computer, you'll see I have a lot of different drawings up here. These are previous drawings that were open. You may have that as well for yourself. And then, of course, you can flip-flop between the two if that's easier for you to find. There's a couple ways that you can get to a new drawing. The first one would be on the Start menu here. You could click on New, but instead of clicking New, I want you to click the downward arrow. And you want to go to Browse Templates. And you should get some kind of a pop-up screen that looks like this. When we are working in inches, that's what we're working in now, you'll choose AutoCAD.dwt. And then you can hit open from here. Now, I'm going to show a couple other ways that you can get to a new file. So up at the top, very top bar up here, you're going to see where it says AutoCAD. If you click on that, you can click new, and that's going to also open up this screen here. And right next to AutoCAD is this little white sheet of paper that says new. If you click that, that should also bring up that pop-up screen. So choose which way works best for you. And we're going to start with AutoCAD.dwt. Yours might just say AutoCAD. Avoid any of these other ones where it says named plot styles, AutoCAD, ISO. We're not going to be using those right at this time. Just plain AutoCAD.dwt. So you can see on my screen, I have a grid background, just to point that out. If you don't want to work with a grid, which we will be today, but in the future, if you didn't want to, you can click at the very bottom down here, what looks like a tic-tac-toe board. And that takes it off and on. So let's jump into where the book is for us today. And we are in the very beginning of our book. This one is the 2024, and we're starting off on page 1-3. And it's going to show us how to start a new drawing here, which we've done. And now it's going to have us pull down an extra menu bar at the top. We're going to need that. So up at the very, very top of your CAD screen, right where I showed you how to get to that little white sheet of paper, you'll find what looks like a little arrow pointing down. We're going to click on that. We're going to go all the way to the bottom where it says Show Menu Bar. And so we want to pull that up. And mine happens to be right up at the top next to where it says Share. And at the bottom, we're going to go to Show Menu Bar. Up at the top, that gives us a bunch of different pull-down menus that we can now work with. Also on our screen, on the bottom right corner, you'll see something that looks like 3 horizontal lines. Sometimes we call that the hamburger, and that's for customizing. If we click on this, it pulls up all of the different things that we can use in CAD to create more toolbars for us. What we want to make sure is that we have on our coordinates all the way at the top. Make sure you have a little check mark next to coordinates. That's what this is down here. We're going to be using that today. So make sure that you have coordinates check marked on. So now that we have completed the menu bar, the customization, now what we want to do is make sure that we've set up our units correctly. So we've started in inches, because we started with AutoCAD.dwt, but we're also going to make sure that we are working in the proper style of units. So we will go up to that new bar that we just pulled up. We're going to go down to Format and go to where it says Units. So all the way up at the top, we're going to go to Format. We're going to drop down to Units. It says decimal. We're going to leave it at decimal, but directly under it on the left side, I want you to change it to 2 decimal points. Double check and make sure it says inches in the middle, and then you can click OK. The next thing that we want to do is we're going to set up our drawing area. That would be where we're going to be doing our drawing at. So just like we did before, let me pull up the book. I'm on page now 1-6. It wants us to go back up to our menu bar Format, and we're going to drop down to Drawing Units, and it's going to have us type some information in. So let's go back to CAD. Let's go to Format, down to Drawing Limits. And notice, this is our command prompt, so make sure that you are always reading your command prompt. Specify lower limit. That's going to be 0, 0, and hit Enter. And our upper right, we're going to keep it at 12, 9, and hit Enter. Nothing on our screen has changed, and so what we need to do is shift the screen by zooming it. So we're going to go back to View, not back to, but we're going to go to View, down to Zoom, and go to All. And now you can see that my grid has changed. When you are starting a new drawing, this is how you should start every single drawing. You want to start with an AutoCAD.dwt. You want to change your units by coming up to Format and down to Units. You want to change your drawing limits, and then you want to do a zoom and all. So every drawing you have is going to start with this style. Going back to the book, over to page 1-8, we're going to start with drawing some lines here. Now, on the previous video that went through all the interface of AutoCAD, it kind of showed you under the Home tab where you have all these drawing tools, and next to that are the Modify tools. We're going to be starting with the drawing tools today. And we're going to start with the line command. Now, you can click anywhere you want to on the screen for this. I'll show you in just a minute. But you'll notice down here on the bottom right of your screen, these are the coordinates of our lines. We can type in coordinates, the Cartesian coordinates, and we can draw our lines using that as well. So let's just freehand a star that looks just like this one at the bottom of page 1-8. Let's go ahead and jump in and do that now. So going back to CAD, up under the Home tab is my line command. And you can see that this is where our coordinates are. As I move my mouse, the coordinates change. So I'm just going to start, and it does not matter where. In fact, I'm going to turn off my grid mode here, my little tic-tac-toe, and I'm just going to draw out. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not looking for perfection, but draw out a star. Now you'll notice before I click this end piece, do you see how I get that little green square that pops up? It's kind of like a little magnetizing tool right to the end. That is called an O-snap. I'll click it, and now I know that that is right at the end of that line there, and they've connected. Now I still have this line that I'm attached to my mouse. I can break the line by hitting Escape on the keyboard, or you can right click and either hit Enter or Cancel. And that closes off our star. Going back to what they want us to do in the book. Now that we've created our star, they want us to, we're going to be working with coordinates next, or not the coordinates, but the grid on line. So if we change now our drawing, and we're going to go right over here to page 1-11 to the grid on, we're going to turn our grid back on. That is our little tic-tac-toe board. And then right next to it is this little waffle right here. And we want that waffle to be turned on. That's called a snap mode. That means that every one of those squares on our grid, each corner of that square is going to have a snap option. So we're going to be very locked into where we can place our lines. So let's go on to CAD. And we'll turn our tic-tac-toe board on if yours is not already on. And then right next to that is the waffle. Let's go ahead and click the waffle for our snap mode being turned on. And then I'll go back to my line command. And this time when you go to move your mouse, notice how it's only moving right onto the corners of my grids. So now when you go to do this, go ahead and draw out your star. Try to be as even as you can be going through. And remember, when you're done here, you can either right-click Enter, right-click Cancel, or you can hit Escape on your keyboard. It does not, these don't have to look the same. We're just using one with the grid and one without the grid snap. We're going to do two more things, and then I'm going to have us save this and upload it into the D2L as our star drawing. Now, on this little board down here, you're going to see something that looks like a square with a little square in the corner. Next to it is a caret. These are our object snaps. So that endpoint that is a green square that uses like a magnet to get to the end of the line. We have all of these different ways that we can use our mouse for that. So I like to have my endpoint, midpoint, center. I like my geometric center on, my node, my quadrant, my intersection, my extension, and then my apparent intersection. These are the ones that are the most helpful to me. So when you go on, all you have to do is click the OSNAP that you want activated, and it'll put a little check mark next to it. You want to make sure that this stays blue. You don't want it to be grayed out, because then it means it's not on, and you don't have the option. If I try now to connect my end, let me take off my snap here, but you'll notice it doesn't want to like secure at an endpoint. There's no magnetizing to it. So I want to delete these lines out. I put them in here and I don't want them on. There's a couple of ways that you can do that. One is I can go up here into the modify toolbar where there's something that looks like an eraser, and I can click my objects. You notice when I hover over it, it kind of grays it out, kind of makes it disappear. The other way you can do that is you select them, you right click, and you can hit erase here, or the delete button on your keyboard. Not backspace. Backspace is not going to work, but the delete button would. All right, one last thing, and then we are going to turn this in. And they want us to erase two of our lines. So again, we go to our erase tool, and I want you to select two lines to erase from our star on the right. When you're done selecting, you right click, and you'll notice those lines are now disappeared. Now, let's say that for some reason you went too far and you wanted to undo what you've done. You can right click and undo, or if you come up here, there is a backwards arrow you can undo. And if you have multiple steps that you want to undo, you can even click this little arrow and you can go down and it will undo so many of the commands. But this is all I'm looking for from you today. How you're going to save your drawing is if you go up to your the AutoCAD in the upper left corner, you're going to come down to Save As. And notice I hover on it and I'm going to come up to Drawing. I want to save it as a drawing, not a template. So we're going to go to Drawing, and you should get some kind of pop-up like this. Now, you'll want to save this either to your hard drive at home, or if you have a USB, you'll want to save it to that. So make sure you change your location. I'm going to put mine on my desktop for now. And when you save your drawings for me, I want you to put your last name in there, and then whatever the drawing name is. And this one is Star Tutorial. So your last name and whatever the name of the drawing is. You'll hit save. And up at the top here, you'll see where we've changed our name. And then you'll upload it into our D2L. And as a reminder, when you go to the D2L, you'll come up to the Assignments tab. Let me put myself as a student here. You'll go to Assignments. You're going to go to Star Tutorial. You're going to add a file. And then you're going to have to find where your file is. Now you can click and drag it in. Or you'll have to go through, oh goodness, I have so many things on here, don't I? Here we are, my Star Tutorial. I'm going to click and drag that in. And you'll see now it has it there. And click Add. So you'll see it says it right there. And then you'll hit Submit. And it will tell you that your file was successfully submitted. And you can hit Done here and continue to go back and complete the other assignments. For this next week, you have the Start Tutorial and you have your introduction that I would like you to upload.